Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of the Behind the Scenes series. In this one we're going to take a look at the dream sequencer. Now this one is also some time ago, so I don't have any time lapses, but I do have a lot of saves. So we can just take a look through those and see how the ride evolves. So in this first save slot I found two different things. The first one is this one over here. You might recognize it as a very early stage of the final segment, the one where you just go through the looping chambers. So the idea for this one was established very quickly. I just didn't know quite where I wanted to put it and how it would look in the end. But yeah, as you can see, sometimes ideas just evolve during building, and this is how I do a lot of my rides. I just start building and start putting down ideas and see how they fit into the big picture. The other segment I found here is the part right after you enter the dream. It's this otherworldly, well actually more in between two worlds part, this one, and that feeling is created by those two bodies of water that are right above each other. I came across that by accident. I was just putting down water just to try something, and when I did that I put down another body of water right above it. So I had this body of water and then one right above it, and I was just like, well, that's something I can use, that looks pretty cool. So if you have those two bodies of water and you add the star panels, as well as enough light from the moon, then you create this mystical in-between world. The way that works is because of how shadows work and water. As you can see, it just changes color because of how the waves are going and where you are compared to the moonlight. This is obviously not something I knew in advance. It was just by trial and error that I came across it, and sometimes you get these great segments and sometimes it just turns into nothing, but generally that gives insight into new ideas as well, so it's always good to experiment. Alright, so this save slot is a couple of save slots further down the road. As you can see, it is the start of the dream sequencer, the building and the machine, and it's not at all detailed yet, but what you can see are the floodlights. Seeing as this is based on the songs from Arian, there's this certain part in there with the floodlights that just snap on, and that's something I really wanted to have in there, because I really love the build-up on towards the entrance of the dream sequencer. And something else I really wanted to have in there was the water. When you listen to the music, you hear a lot of sound effects, and one of those sound effects is just him entering the water and it being surrounded by water. So this just made sense to me to build it like this. Alright, so when we follow this track, it's going to lead towards the otherworldly area. Something I did here to create this sort of fade in is something I already mentioned in Dread, but I wanted to show you one more time. What I did here was put down a whole lot of oil jets, and by doing that you create this wall of black which you can go through, and as you can see it disappears gradually instead of just suddenly. Like if you go through a normal wall like this, it's just too sudden, and when you have this gradual movement, it's a whole lot more immersive. The next thing was really fun to build. It's I don't even know how to call it. It's this optical illusion thing that I got from a Minecraft coaster actually. I really love that effect, so I really wanted to build it as well. How I did that is by having two parts of it. This is the first part, and it's actually just colored concrete walls. So the corners are all a certain type of gray, and the sides are either white or black. And by alternating between those colors, you get that certain effect that I really wanted. And the second part is this one, and that's actually the inside. So when you go inside it, then you see this. And I created that by using the basic shapes, the rectangles. Also black and white, and alternating between them. And I set it up by duplicating the sides. So if you have this as a start, then you duplicate this side to make it as long as possible. Then you get this. You position it like you want it, and then you can delete the rectangles you don't need. And when you do that over a long enough length, then you get this. And when you put those two together, you get the final result, and that's this on the front end. And when you go inside, then it's this. And when you duplicate those right after each other, then you get that weird optical illusion. And I do have to say that the effect in the Minecraft video works even better, if you ask me. I tried to recreate it as best as I could, but I feel like I'm missing something, and that makes it work even better in the Minecraft video. But in the end, I'm really happy with the result. So after that part, you get to this one, and I built this one on its side, on one side as well as on the other side. Why I did that was to try and create this weird feeling of gravity not really working like it's supposed to. As you can see here, if you have this track and you go like this, then it looks like you're going down, but actually you're going up. So instead of accelerating, it's decelerating. And that's something that works through this whole segment. And it was really fun to build, so I hope it messed with enough minds to make it worthwhile. Now here you can see something that I do quite a lot when I'm building. It's really a time management thing. You can see that I put a station here, and that's right after the gravity part. I put that here because if I want to test segments further down the track, it's easier to put down a station here than to fast forward through this whole first part over and over again. So it's really just to save time. Something you do have to keep in mind though if you want to use this is the following. The spot where you put the extra station, you have to have the room to keep the momentum the same as it is before. What I mean with that is if, for example, if this is the ride and there's a whole lot of track before this, but you want to test this part, what you want to do is take a spot where you can mimic the same momentum. So for example, when you have this ride, you can see that from here all the way over here, it's all 30 miles per hour. So if you want to put a station here, you have to make sure that whenever it's around here, it's already at 30 miles per hour. So if I do put an extra station here, I'll do that right now. You have to make sure that it's already 30 miles per hour, as you can see here. So if I now remove this station and put it over here, because these tracks are at 30 miles per hour, the momentum will be the same after you restore it. So if you test this one now, you can see that it's at 30 miles per hour and stays at 30 miles per hour. So now you can properly test this part. All you have to do when you're done is remove this part, all of it, and set it to the same as it was before. One thing you do have to keep in mind when you reposition the station, so when you put it back again, you can't have it like this, because if you put a station here, it will go the other way. So what you have to do is get this track as long as possible, so that when you remove in between, you can put the station right there. And now it goes that way again. The next part is actually quite straightforward, no pun intended. It's the tunnel of light. And what I did was put down 4 floodlights, one on each side, and have the terrain be completely white. So if I'm correct, it's just this snow. And by doing that, you create this perfect tunnel. Speaking of which, the tunnel I created by using the auto tunnel function on the track. If you put this one to 7 meters, you can just build track inside terrain and it will create this perfect round tunnel. So that tunnel plus those 4 floodlights in different colors creates the tunnel of light. Okay, so the next part is probably one of the most frustrating but also one of the most rewarding segments I created. It's the giant clock. It's just basically a whole lot of doors. As you can see here, that's the start. One arrow consists of 6 stable doors. Why the stable doors? Well, if you get a stable door, then you can see when you look at the animation that the doors open just a little further than the normal doors. It's really, the difference is very little, but it's precisely what I needed. That tiny little nudge there is what I used for the arrows. Because if you have those 6 doors, like you have them here, and you put them in behind those white rectangles, then if you activate those doors, all 6 of them, then you can see that they pop up and create an arrow. It's really a short moment, but that's precisely what I needed. And if you take one of those arrows to show all 6 doors and duplicate them, then if you pause at the exact right moment, right there, then you can place the arrows at the location that they should be. So for example, this black one, get the rotation right and get the position right, like that. And if you do that for every arrow there is, then you have a full clock. And finally you put them in a sequencer, like this one. This is for the first 5 arrows, and if you put them in a sequencer with a certain delay and you play it, then it pops up the arrows like they should. Then if you combine that with the pendulum, that's the part under here. It consists of actually 5 static pendulums, and by activating the right lights at the right time, it looks like it's swinging. There are a bunch of lights in here, and if those are activated, then you will see it swinging. And by setting up different durations on the different pendulums, you can simulate the momentum. So it's really slow at the end and fast in the middle, and that way it's swinging like a pendulum in real life. Now the clock isn't the only thing I used a lot of doors for. For those text near the end, the hurry and the time's running out, I also used a lot of doors, the fancy doors to be precise. With those doors I created the letters, and because of the vertical movement of the doors, you can place them behind star panels, like I did here, so that they create words out of nowhere. And after the duration of the door is done, they disappear into nowhere as well. Alright, so the final part in the dream itself is this one. I opened up the terrain so you can really see what's going on. It's the looping rooms which start to really break down. The first 3 rooms are exact duplicates of each other, but after that it starts to break down and really go out of control right until here, where the dream and the machine itself is just collapsing. To really have the effect that you enter each room over and over again, I set up the floodlights like this. I had 3 floodlights which illuminate exactly 1 room, and as soon as you enter the next room, so under this gate, it will pop up the next 3 floodlights, and because of the speed and because of the positions of the floodlights, so you only see this room and nothing else. it creates the illusion that you're entering the same spot over and over again. Because I used the star panels later in other rooms like this one, I had to make sure that when you're in the previous room, you don't see those star panels yet. Because of the gate, there are holes in between, so you could see the next star panels, and that would shatter the illusion. So to make sure that that doesn't happen, I put up these coaster doors on the star panels, so that they're hidden when you're still in the previous room. So as soon as you enter this room, it will open up the doors, so you actually see the star panels. It creates the effect that the room is falling apart. After a couple more of these rooms, each falling apart a little more than the previous one, you enter this area where the rooms are completely gone and it's just objects from those rooms. Those objects, together with strobe lights, a whole lot of strobe lights, and the fireworks, form this otherworldly area that really illustrates how far the machine has broken down. And as soon as you enter the next area, the final area, you can see how much the machine has broken down. And I created that by first creating the whole picture. This is the final dream sequencer building. After I built that, I duplicated towards here and just started breaking stuff actually. So this fence over here, and then the floor, the ceiling panels are falling apart, and pipes are breaking down, sparks everywhere, as well as putting overgrowth everywhere, which all was a lot of fun to do actually. But by doing that, you can create this whole apocalyptic, destroyed area. And I think it turned out pretty well. I was very happy with it. Then finally, at the end of the ride, together with the audio and the final image of this tunnel of light that you were trying to reach before, you will know that you're still trapped inside the machine and probably never make it out again. And with that depressing thought, I think it's a good time to wrap up this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, and if you want to support me even further, you can follow the Patreon link in the description below for all kinds of extra features. Thank you and see ya!